Hello and welcome to our podcast, Cozy Conversations with the Sister Project. I'm Lauren. And I'm Michelle. And we're so excited you stopped by for a visit. Come on in. Yeah, make yourself at home. We're two Midwestern sisters who love a good old-fashioned conversation and enjoy sharing our life experiences with one another and you. Consider this your one-stop shop for cozy, mindful well-being, along with some entertainment and lots of wheezy laughing. Oh, you bet there'll be a lot of that going around. Our goal is to live our coziest life and inspire you to do the same because the truth is, we think it's good for your mind and your body. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, let's get cozy. Well, hello there, and welcome to Cozy Conversations with the Sister Project. I am your host, Lauren, joined by my co-host and sister, Michelle. Welcome, Howdy, Michelle. Doody.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, you know what? It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you every week. My favorite thing, I tell you, I wake up excited to record.
Same. There's no other way to start the week than starting it with a cozy conversation.
It's wonderful.
And this conversation was great today.
It was cozy. There were some, we touched on some real things that are happening in the world, Gaza, Rafah, and then we led into the other things that are happening closer to home for us, like Michelle's cicada invasion, and why it's important as we age to spend time outdoors. And then we really get into it when we talk about the Ashley Madison Netflix series, where we watched couples cheat on one another. And it was fantastic. Gosh, there's that database is still out. We can type people's names in, but who does that? Take someone's name. Who's on? Do you know anyone, Michelle, who got caught in the Ashley Madison scandal?
No one.
Okay,
no
one. Okay, we've got some light housekeeping to tend to while you are tuning in. This is something that we get asked for all the time is when is our next Asking for a Friend Curaleaf event? And we have one coming up. This will be held on July 18th, which is a Thursday. Typically, these go from 6 to 9, and this one will be held at their new Lenox location. Stand by, stay tuned. We have to get more details, but save the date, July 18th. Yes, Michelle?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have loved being partners with Curaleaf. And I wanted to say this, as we move into the summer seasons, the past couple weekends I've been traveling, I've imbibed a little bit more in beverages than usual, just, having an extra glass of something here and there. And I'm really looking forward to getting back to where I typically am these days. And, just instead of having that, glass of rosé, which was so fucking good, but just, popping that 5-to-1 edible. It's been gardening, if you will. I've been gardening. I can't wait to get back to my gardening. And that's what they call it on social media. And as you guys know, we have given you guys a lot of stuff and tools to go into your local dispensary of Curaleaf dispensary and ask the bud tenders what it is that tell them what you are looking for. Don't be shy with your questions. Let them know if you're looking for something that's more social or maybe something for sleep or whatever it might be.
Yeah, or maybe you're stressed and you're trying to relax, but you don't want to feel super high. You just want to take it down.
I've also been having conversations with women, and a lot of women are transitioning into that moment of too many glasses of red wine are keeping them up at night or waking them up too early in the morning. And guess what's so exciting about cannabis edibles? Those don't typically do that. Either they put you to sleep,
especially the wanna stay asleep and the wanna fast asleep, which are high dose CBD, CBN, low dose THC. They help mama sleep.
Snoozapaloozas.
Snoozapalooza. And I heard on, I think it was a Mel Robbins podcast, speaking of drinking, if you don't want to sleep, drink. But if you want a little assistance easing into your slumber, if you want to
sleep, have a wana.
There you go.
Wanas, Lost Farm edibles, Jams edibles. These are some of our favorites here at the Sister Project.
Is Lost Farm a Wana product?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
No, those are
okay. That's what you said.
Sorry.
You were just saying Wana.
Yeah, these are just my favorite.
Lost Farm.
Yep, you got it.
Got it.
These are some of my favorites. And if you guys have questions on other products that we love or what we like, to take for sleep, etc., just again, reach out to us. And don't forget, when shopping at Curaleaf, use our code SISTER30 for 30% off. And if by chance the bud tender's like, oh, that coupon's expired, ask be that person, be like, you sure? Let me chat. If you can chat with the manager, because it's not. The coupon code is ready for it to be used by you.
And the discount is so good. It's worth it. You don't want to leave without taking advantage of it.
So thank you to Curaleaf, our partners. We are so excited for our July 18th Asking for a Friend. You guys, we will let you loose right now. Get to the conversation. It's a good one. It's a doozy. It's a thinker. Stay cozy.
And roll on.
Post holiday weekend. How was your holiday weekend?
It was really relaxing. It was really slow. It wasn't really between a couple of breaks with rain, so we didn't have to do certain things like go to baseball games and
wasn't that great?
And like a lot of quiet time because everyone was out of town, so like the streets were less crowded. And
not really though, because you guys have cicadas and they're everywhere.
Actually, I said the streets are less crowded. It's the sidewalks around here that are just absolutely, it's a war zone. It's an absolute war zone.
So gross. We will get to that in just a few moments. We're going to talk all about cicadas.
Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I had a good.
Is that why you've not been coming around so much?
It actually grosses me out at this point. Probably a little bit. Get a little, okay. Oh my God. It's,
You would not have made it as a biologist.
Here's the deal. I don't know if there's a scientific term for this eating disorder that I have, but when I see something so unappetizing, such as a dead cicada and maybe its innards, it's game over for me. I cannot consume food for the rest of the day. And it's
that sounds like a cicada silver lining to me.
I mean, call it whatever you want. But some days I'm so hungry, and then I will eat something. I'll be so excited to eat because I've made myself a meal, and I will put it in my mouth, and then I'll have like a flashback, almost like a PTSD of a said cicada
incident.
I will literally put my fork down and I'll be like, that's it. And I don't know what, I've always been like this. And I think it has a lot to do with why I don't eat meat anymore. And I won't go into it a lot, but it's just a visual thing,
Well, I'm here to tell you, just from what I'm seeing out there, the cicada texture to a piece of steak, different texture.
I know. And that's why I can't eat like cottage cheese right now. I'm having a problem. It's honestly making me not.
Or like drizzling any
Michelle,
sort of like
people
sugar.
Are going to be mad at us.
Okay.
People are going to get mad at us.
I actually disagree. We have some listeners out there that are absolutely obsessed with cicadas.
We'll talk all about them. We are going to go into some fun facts, but I have to just say that it's just, yes, it gross. The fun, when they're alive and they land on you, that makes me laugh and it's fun.
Yeah, they're cute.
They are kind of cute. Back in the day in grade school, we had this young lady. She was a year older than me. I won't use any names, but there's some SJC listeners out there, St. John of the Cross, who know exactly who I'm talking to. And this young lady was obsessed with cicadas. She was a cicada for Halloween. Because we had that emergence, 19 years ago. And, the more I've done some learning about cicadas, I've found that, and this is where people I think are like, we saw some last year, because there's different broods and different species of them that come out in different times of their life cycle, if you will. But yeah, no, I'm glad that I spent the weekend down here without a dead cicada sighting in sight here in the city. There's none.
Not one.
None.
God bless.
No, there are none. And we just hung out. We had some friends over. It was a very chill weekend. I will say, I know we try to keep things really light here, Michelle. I know.
Yeah.
But this weekend was really hard for me because of what's happening in Gaza and Rafah. And I did some thinking about this, is because I think that we can see anything now. Now that it's we can't ignore it. You can, let's be honest. There's a lot of people not on social media. Here's the deal. I sat on Sunday, and while Luna was napping, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. The sink was full of dishes, but Dad had come over and brought me the New York Times. So I'm like, I'm going to just sit and read the New York Times and not worry about that sink. And I didn't, and it was fine. And I was reading cover to cover. And I was reading about what's happening, about this war. And and learning.
Can you give a brief
Yeah,
update?
This is what I've learned. And this is, okay, so basically, I'm like, why are they bombing? And I'm not, listeners, I'm not justifying anything. I'm just telling you what I read. And this is what I've learned is the reason why they are bombing civilians, refugees who are in a camp, just kind of sitting there, hoping for the best, whatever that might mean, just to live another day, is because Hamas has these insane tunnels. It's a very, from what it sounds like, sophisticated tunnel system all underneath. Okay. And apparently there's some underneath this area in Gaza called Rafah, which I'm sure a lot of people are seeing on social media, all eyes on Rafah, because this is where Israel government has told these refugees to go and seek refuge. It's safe there. And then they end up bombing. And it was like hell on earth, basically, for these human beings. I mean, it was horrific. And I was thinking about it, and I was, for the people that aren't on social media or don't follow the handles that I follow, because I see it all. I'm seeing what's happening there. I'm following media that's down there. You are kind of distanced from it. So you don't really see what's happening. So like when I was reading the New York Times, you read what's going on, but when you go to social media, you see what's going on. And it is
horrific.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I did have a bit of, it was hard for me to be like in a celebratory mood, which, Memorial Day in itself, we're honoring people who have lost their lives for fighting for our country. So it's, I was also like just doing some deep thinking. Like, it's so weird that we like party and we get hammered for celebrating the people who have died for our country. And I'm just, I did a lot of deep thinking this weekend, and nothing much has come from it, except for that I just took some time to like slow down and like think about what the fuck's going on in this world.
I think I felt like energetically you were not like a distance from me, but I think I was recognizing your, I don't know, sort of like maybe almost like not sadness, but like, I don't know.
Sadness. It's very just like, it's hard for me to like, I'm just like looking at our world that we live in. I'm like, good God, this is nothing what's going on right now is functioning right. We are in a very fucked up system all over the world. And especially these poor people and these children. I mean, I know we come to this podcast for uplifting material, but it's really hard to not talk about it. And I think we have to talk about it, or else we are just kind of going in that run of the mill. Let's ignore and just keep to business. But this is really important stuff.
Yeah, it is. I feel like a podcast that I listened to this morning would be sort of a good way to navigate this conversation and maybe sort of just manage deep thoughts and really put into perspective where we are in the world and what we are in the world. I popped Daily Stoic back into my ear, and it's been a bit.
What was he guiding you? What kind of thoughts and mindset was he guiding you with?
He was talking about mindset and the way Stoics approached life thousands of years ago, and how these basic ideas, they're so simple. Looking at things with a different perspective, or focusing on nothing was a challenge. Everything was a lesson.
Yeah.
And
totally.
There's a greater meaning to everything. But the idea that these philosophies were so simple and derived at a time so long ago, but they still make sense. They still have an impact. They still can be applied to everyday life today.
This is a book that I bought in Prague called The Art of Living. It's the classical manual on virtue, happiness, and effectiveness. And it's a lot of Stoicism is in here, and it's Epictetus, which I think is mentioned a lot in like the Daily Stoics books. And the same thing, Michelle, it's like lessons from many, many, many moons ago that are still applicable today. And, the one thing that I use a lot what were you going to say?
Just that we're all connected. And that's the part that's so, we are collective.
Totally.
And that's the part I think that is so just upsetting and disconcerting is we are living in a place where that connection is so lost.
Yes.
And
Totally.
people have lack the ability to consider that it's not just, they're not the only ones. We are one. We are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I truly believe that, and I connect with that ideal.
You know, I follow that Buddhist, I almost said nudist, but that Buddhist monk.
I think maybe we need a little nudist in our algorithm to shift gears a little bit.
The Buddhist monk nun, the Buddhist nun that I follow, she always brings some sort of concepts and ideas to situations like this. And one of the things that I've always remember that she said is that in times of despair, when you're watching human suffering from miles and from the other side of the world, there's absolutely nothing you can do. I mean, you can donate, and she talks about that. You can donate, you can, speak up about it. But she's like, but the things that you could do immediately that are right in your home, in your corner, your neck of the woods, is help the people that are nearest to you. Yeah. So, and that is just a trickle effect. And I remember that because it's just something where it's like, oh, at least I can do that. At least I can do that. I mean, yeah, I know.
Exactly. It's rough, man.
It's rough.
It's
and
horrid.
I just
it's
feel,
horrid.
After reading the book, The Women too, by Kristen Hanna, you get a real glimpse of, not even a glimpse, a full picture of what happened in Vietnam to these people. And you read about soldiers with their arms being blown off. And you're like, we didn't see anything like that back then because it was the 70s and late 60s and there wasn't social media. And, they didn't show everything to the world. And now we are just in this front row seat of watching death.
Yeah.
for the lack of better words.
I came home a couple of days ago and was trying to watch A Gentleman in Moscow because someone had recommended it to me. But for whatever reason, I put on A Tattooist of Auschwitz. Now I've read that book.
I heard it's good.
Incredible. It's an incredible story. But there's another sample of our history where you are reminded of the horror that people lived and the absolute lack of consideration, all for power and what people did to survive.
That's where and that's where I think we're seeing a bit of history repeating itself again. And now we're hearing about
the parallels are the same. It's
totally. Yeah. So I think for our listeners, maybe it's that the Buddhist nun, walk away from this conversation with, how can you help those that are closest to you? Like the people in your neighborhood, the people in your community, those who are less fortunate. And that maybe you're not going to fix Rafah or Gaza, but heavy shit, man. So yeah, that's how my Memorial Day weekend went. It wasn't great. I mean, it was, it was lovely. It was fine. I'm lucky. I'm sitting here with a fucking house. I'm thinking about things I can complain about. There's stupid shit, you can see in your house. You're like, oh, this is, and I'm like, oh my God, I am safe.
The dose of perspective.
Oh my God. Any complaints just dissipate immediately because you're like, oh, I'm alive and my baby is safe. Perspective is everything, isn't it now?
Yep. No. And sometimes we need to be reminded of it.
Yes. So thank you for letting me talk about this because I feel like it's important that we do take time to acknowledge the fuckery that's happening in this world.
Yep.
So we will switch gears here. It's not an easy gear to switch, but we will do so. I think that since Michelle, we are living also in this moment of time, especially you, and we've kind of hit it at the top of the episode about cicadas.
Okay, great.
Let's just switch gears. Let's talk about something that we're all, some of us, exactly, in a different way. And you guys, Michelle, I took Luna to visit Michelle last week in LaGrange to visit the farmer's market, which is top notch, by the way. Your farmer's market has such treats.
Killing it.
Yeah. So really grateful for the folks that put on that little doodad.
Every Thursday start 7:30 to 2, I think, or 7:30 to 1:30 or something. And we were in the town of LaGrange.
Yeah. And we sat down. Michelle's got some Italian ice for Luna, and we sat down on the grass to have some. And as we're sitting there, the cicada
probably sat on 100 cicadas.
Probably. And I was trying to ignore, and a cicada
You were being a good mom.
Thanks.
You weren't projecting your fear and discomfort.
Well, I was reading. Okay. So what's interesting, so as we're talking about cicadas, this is something that keeps coming up. I'm seeing in my feed is how we project our fear and disgust for these insects in front of our children. And then what happens to our children when we, this goes, listen, use a cicada as an example for anything in the world that you talk shit about. And your kids, if they hear you talk shit about it,
they're going to hate it too.
They're going to be right there with
talk
you.
Shit about it too.
So cicada or anything else. So keeping that in mind, Luna had a cicada fly on her. And listen, when I was little, I was weird as fuck. I would go and cover my body with cicadas. And Michelle, I was talking about this.
Definitely didn't have the same strong feelings.
No, I didn't
today.
Well, I think it was a cry for help and a cry for attention.
Again, something. Look at me.
Look at me, everyone.
I'm adorned in cicadas.
Michelle, I have
Marsha.
I remember walking. I have a core memory walking back from being in the outer fields, collecting the cicadas, adorning them in my hair, on my body, and walking back. Yeah. Walking back to the fields where all of my siblings and family were hanging out because they were
no one even
normal.
looked at you.
No, I remember walking back and like, this will do it. This will have people
Shut up, Lauren.
This will have people talking about me. This will have people. This will make them turn their heads, look towards me. I mean, literally, would look at me.
Well,
and
we're talking about it today,
right?
Today,
but still, at that point, no one gave.
You didn't
shit.
Get what you needed.
No, like with arms stretched out, I was like, "Here I am, everyone!" And literally, people would just look and be like, "Oh, that kid's fucking weird."
Hey,
all
Lauren.
right, go, Andrea. And I was like, "And I'm going to just go back to the wilderness."
Is that what it must have felt like
to be
like a sibling with like an elite athlete?
Yes, I was like, look at me, you guys. I'm weird. I got bugs all over me. I can't shoot hoops or score goals, but I'm weird as fuck. Does that help? Does that garner any attention?
Didn't
love? Nope.
Didn't do a thing.
So we sat, cicada flew on Luna. It was amazing. She pet it. She was not freaked out by it. And then she was kind of like, okay.
She was laughing really hard.
Yeah, she was
super
so
cute.
into it. And then she was kind of done with it. So I tried to flick it off of her. It fell onto my leg and Michelle was right there with me. She saw it happen.
Oh yeah.
I went to scooch it off my leg and
barely touched it.
It exploded. It broke in half.
Shatter flash.
It did. And it exploded on my leg. And that's when Michelle
and that's where you had an amygdala hijack and your response at that point fell off.
I screamed.
And we all did a terrible job of reacting
because
in a calm, natural
manner. Guts on my leg.
Juices.
I'm going to throw up.
Listen, I was just on Facebook. There are moms, I think, of Western Springs or moms of whatever Facebook page are requesting if people could please tidy up their sidewalks so that we can have more enjoyable walks. And people are like,
honestly,
oh, please, people won't shovel their dry sidewalks. You think they're going to blow off their cicadas? But there are some neighbors, I see their commitment to clearing their area. They do not want it.
That. Well, I wouldn't want it in front of my sidewalk.
Well,
either.
Let me tell you something. You'd move out to Timbuktu if you lived a couple blocks north of me. There is a tree. It is very large. It looks like they mulched with cicadas. Okay.
That is
mulched. All right.
So
covered white ones popping out of their shell backwards.
It's so weird. So Michelle and I did a little research on this and I'm going to just switch screens here for a moment.
And I actually met researchers too. So I can't wait to share my knowledge.
Well, you could probably take this away. I just think that there's a couple things to think about when it comes to cicadas is that not all of them are from the same camp. They don't all do this 17-year emergence.
Yeah. And by camp, you mean brood.
I do mean brood. And we are in the brood X, brood 10. And
which I hear is the epicenter.
Yeah. We are literally, this is like, they say millions or billions of cicadas.
There's about a 500,000 right down the way.
It's so weird, you guys. I mean, 500,000. I can't. The thing about them is that they don't bite, they don't sting. Michelle, can they kill trees? Is that why people are protecting their trees? Do they?
Honestly, I was walking past that going, that's just capitalism at its finest.
It's putting a net.
Before. Yeah. That's somebody just exploiting the cicada invasion right now, because I don't remember trees being decimated the last two times the cicadas.
So you don't recall that? I don't recall that either. I really don't recall that either.
That's just a moneymaker. Let's make some more shit that's not going to decompose in a landfill later.
Why aren't we opening? Hold on. I completely agree with you. I'm trying to open up my notes here. But what we have to understand is that we are dealing with periodical cicadas. These are the ones in this instant that come up every 17 years. There are some that come up every 13 years. And then there are annual cicadas. And I think that's what throws people off. They see a cicada and they're like, wait, they're not supposed to be out for a while. But that's time for them to come alive.
That cleared some things up for me. I did not realize that. Yeah. I thought we just had some lone wolves that had made it out. They're not on the same time schedule, but in fact, they're just a different
that
bird
is their
entirely.
time schedule. Now, climate change is playing a role with maybe changing some of these schedules because of the warming temperatures and whatnot. Because what happens is when it warms up, this is when they claw, and I hated that they used that word, the nymphs claw back out from underneath after drinking and sipping sap for years on end. They claw, nothing nymph. You think like fairy-like and sweet,
tinker.
Like, why can't they be a little cuter? They look like
they're like characters from the Dark Crystal. Really, you're like, there's nothing cute nymph-like about them.
They're so gross. I mean, they're just weird looking, And so they crawl out. And what's more terrifying, I think, of all things is when the back of their body cracks open.
Favorite phase.
And they eject themselves
back dive.
And now,
cicada back dive.
And now they're just
10
hanging
points.
out of, now they're just hanging out of its cracked back shell. Again,
high degree of difficulty on that dive, by the way. High degree of difficulty.
And unappetizing, but that's still not what does it for me. I'm still like, wow, cool. Science is neat. Okay.
I'll be curious.
Yeah, I'll be curious. This is an interesting metamorphosis.
What is it?
What is what?
What's the part that you are not loving the most?
Michelle, the dead ones, the dead guts, all of that. So what happens is once they do their thing, they come out, they turn into that funny looking one. The red eyes is another part that's so funny about them. It's like, why must they have red beady eyeballs? Like they do nothing for them. Weird. No,
they're just like flying around. I mean, if you throw one up in the air, it literally is. Will threw one in the air, and he was like, holy shit! Thanks for the lift, guys. And he landed in the tree in front, and we were like, Valhalla.
We'll get to that. We're actually moving into that right now because here's the deal. What we hear too is this weird loud sound because they basically come up to mate. And what Michelle has so eloquently kind of paralleled this with is the Vikings
parallel
Valhalla. So Michelle, why don't you tell us just if you can a moment of what is Valhalla and why is it so mirrored with these cicadas? Tell me more.
I'd love nothing more.
Valhalla. I mean, that's my new celebration word. Like yesterday,
Lauren,
friend
people
Hillary's
on
birthday,
the street are yelling Valhalla.
And I'm like, Valhalla.
I walked into a restaurant. A couple came up to me and said, nothing but your Valhalla cicada content is my favorite thing ever. Hilarious. Guys, this is the deal. In a nutshell, Valhalla is the heaven that Vikings go to when they die, hopefully in battle, fighting for their honor. And when you go to Valhalla, there's other places that they go, but Valhalla is where you sit aside the gods, sit aside Odin and drink the wine and feast and be with all of the people that you lived with when you were alive.
Sorry.
Well, and I imagine there's
billions of cicadas joining.
Yeah.
Just all hanging out,
doing it. And my comparison. And I also think that in Valhalla, assumption, I haven't really read up on this specifically, but I'm sure there were lots of sex. There was lots of sex in Valhalla. And basically what I'm telling people is when a cicada comes up after that 17-year hibernation and he or she finds their mate.
Is that Valhalla?
That is Valhalla. It's like kind of precedes in the cicada cycle. It's like they're doing it.
They're doing it before. I get it. So I was wondering when Valhalla hits for a cicada, and you're talking about when they meet their mate and they're bumping uglies.
That's it. That's Valhalla. So that noise that noise you're hearing, they're yelling Valhalla.
Now the noise. Show your tongue. The noise you actually hear is a reverberation of the male's side that clicks basically, and that yell is to reach a female So that a female's like, wow, that's a cool sound. Here I come, buddy. Yeah. And let's attach our ass together now. Cause that's another thing I hate. I hate the ass to ass fucking.
Well, they're doing it cicada style.
You know what? The world is all cicada right now. And I'm ready for we follow some handles. We follow a vibrator handle. And sometimes I do sex positions of the day. I'm waiting for cicada style where it's butt to butt.
It's going to be an interesting approach, but people are going to bring it back.
So here's something interesting. Females lay 200 to 400 eggs in tiny holes that they make in branches of trees and shrubs. Now, after so this is after. Now they've had their Valhalla butt to butt sex.
Moment.
And now
they're delivering.
They're delivering. After 6 to 10 weeks, cicada young called nymphs hatch from their eggs. So now this is before all the other stuff we've talked about, and they immediately fall to the ground. So they fall from the tree to the ground and they burrow underground and attach to tree root, which that might not be great for trees. And then this is when they stay buried and suck on the seed strips, suck on the tree sap. And this is where we are right now. So that was the beginning stage. Those shrill buzzing sounds are they've got these drum plates on the side of their abdomen. That is, again, so alien.
You know what? I'm about to go back out there and start dissecting because I need to see, because I did get up close and personal yesterday when there was a couple out there, there was some foreplay going on.
I can't.
And one of them I noticed had a very sharp, it looked like almost a stinger on the back end. And I'm like, is that the male or is that the tool that the female uses to lay the egg make the holes for the eggs?
Right.
And is it a two-pronger?
Wow.
Is it a tool / an egg depositor?
Whoa.
What do we got?
So you're getting in there deep.
I know. I was really investigating. Now, I have to say, on my walk yesterday, my friend Lindsay and I came across 3 people, and you'll know, and you've been with me on a walk. When I see somebody that looks like they know something, I'm going to stop and ask them.
And here questions. In the Midwest, as we've discovered, they're much friendlier here than in other parts of the country when you stop and ask someone, what are you looking at?
Couldn't want to share more of their knowledge if you punched me in the face. Didn't even make sense. But so we stumbled upon 3. One was a PhD of biology, a doctor of biology.
Okay.
I think a recent grad and then a student, from University of Illinois at Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And they were in the woods where we walk. They had a net and a bucket. And from far away, Lindsay's like, now what do you think they're doing? I'm like, oh, fishing. Absolutely. Those guys are going to catch some fish. No, these are doctors of biology, students of biology that were coming to inspect. They were taking samples, cicada samples in their buckets. They're investigating a fungus that is, that bothers some of the brood that's out right now. So they're studying that. But I am here to debunk something because, we're getting a lot of misinformation from people. As I walked into the woods, my friend shared with me that somebody's parent said, now, the 3rd brood hasn't even come yet. It's going to be insane. This is nothing. Well, I'm here to tell you folks, from a doctor's mouth into my mic, this is it. Both broods are out.
Okay.
Both broods are out. And what we're seeing is the high action, I feel peak of the cicada season.
Okay, good. Because I think that settles some nerves because people are kind of over it. They're kind of yeah. So they're it's a good thing to know that there isn't another brood emerging.
No.
Now, Michelle, what you just spoke about, how you stopped and spoke with a couple folks that were investigating. Yes. This is an article.
We should hold workshops on teaching people how to do that. Anyway.
Oh, you mean talk to people? Yeah, maybe, but not about no cicada workshops. So this is life lessons from the summer of cicadas.
Oh.
This is out of the New York Times. And this was a lovely short article about how we can take this emergence of cicadas and either be shitty and be pissed off,
have a bad attitude,
or we can find connection with other people and talk to people, strangers, and start conversations, which is really what life is about, is connecting with random humans. And also, and you mentioned this when we were chatting about Rafah a few moments ago, this makes us realize that we are part of something bigger. We are part of this. It's actually in the insect world and in the nature world, this is a very big deal. This isn't just an annoying situation where cicadas are coming to gross us out and piss us off. This is part of nature and we get to experience it. And if we can twist again our perspective about it a little bit or shift it, even in this article, they said, even if it's commiserating about how fucking gross they are, at least we're having human connection with one another. So I thought this was a great article.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing your experience with the Cicada doctors. Now, this is a great transition to the next article that we're going to speak about briefly here. This comes by way of content contributor Kim Berg-Friesel. She's a loyal listener and a very proud TSP fan. And friend.
Hi,
Kim. Kim, thank you so much for submitting this amazing article out of Nat G. This is why outdoor adventure is important for women as they age. If you think of aging as a time of exploration and exhilaration, you will be happier, healthier, and live longer, writes Caroline Paul, author of the book Tough Broad. Love it. So this was an amazing article about how our experiences outside can offer longevity to us, enhance our life, increase our
health span.
Yeah, increase our health span. They even talk about like cognitive decline. If you're if you're looking at aging, because here's the deal, and they talk about this in the article, is that there's a lot of toxicity that comes with women aging. Menopause, perimenopause, wrinkles. We age differently.
Life
than men.
Is over.
Yeah, and
roll over and
women,
die.
You'll hear women say they feel like invisible.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you what. I get some older clients coming into yoga now that I'm teaching again, and I give the older yogis so much love because I don't want them to feel that way. That they feel invisible, like they just kind of melt into society. I want them to feel seen and feel touched, right? And that's really what this whole article is about. So ladies of all ages, but especially those that are in our camp, in our 40s and aging, here are 5 important things that the writer learned about writing her book. The first one is that mindset matters for aging well. And it's important for us to know that a positive mindset will outweigh the negative messaging about our aging journey. And so the cool thing about that is getting outside, as we know, already offers so many benefits to our well-being and our health. And so as we age, spending more time outside will offer us more benefits. Something here that is really interesting. In 2022, a study of 14,000 adults over 50 found that those who were most positive about aging had a 43% lower risk of dying from any cause over the next 4 years than those who were least positive about aging. Another thing about
that's a massive statistic.
It is. Another thing
and
about
such a simple tweak. Just shifting your mindset, embracing your perspective.
Simple or
on
not,
your age.
I think it could take practice. And this is where
I guess what I mean, like totally accessible. Like you have the power within you. Every single person has to do this.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Well, think about it this way. If you have a negative view of aging, you have statistically higher chance of a cardiac event or cognitive decline and earlier in life too. Okay. Yeah. So it's time to shift that mindset. Outdoor adventure can change your mindset on aging. So this was an interesting part of the article where the author joined this swim group. And these were 60-plus-year-old women who would jump into the Pacific Ocean and deal with the temperature of the waves, all the different outdoor sources and environment. And she was talking to them and they're like, what is it about this that rejuvenates you? And the woman was like, look at the ocean. Like that's your answer. Like we're diving our bodies into it under any circumstances and getting in for a swim and talking to one another. And they help one another. So now not only are these people diving into the ocean, they're helping one another.
Sense of connection.
Totally. Yep. So the next one is nature is medicinal. Getting outside is critical for you biologically. And there is so much science to prove it.
Let's hear it.
Studies have shown that trees release chemicals called phytonsides. They are really good for your immune system, while bird song has been shown to calm our brain waves. And 2 days ago, when I was kind of, dealing with some outside of my realm sadness and feeling really kind of bummed about our world, there was a ton of bird song. And I just sat and I was like, wow, that's healing. It just feels good to just hear this natural sound kind of coming through the windows and help kind of feel more regulated as I listened to it. I feel like you must be high on bird song.
Well, I am. And yesterday, Will and I we actually were sitting outside at the table, studying, whatever, prepping for finals. And
outside, cardinal, that alone, outside.
Yep. And a cardinal appeared right in our, vision, and shocker, it had a cicada in its mouth, and it was whistling Dixie, notifying somebody else like, yo, fam, I got one.
I got dinner.
Or also, if you haven't noticed, there's a shitload around here, whatever. But we sat, and I have to say, like, not even really thinking about this too deeply in the moment, like, there was some brain fatigue. There was lots of time being put in that we were really kind of honing in. And there was a bit of a moment, just like a loosening up and kind of a relaxing a bit just by like taking pause, sitting, noticing that, watching it and hearing it, and then kind of like reinvigorated
totally
for getting back into it.
And it's a complete difference in a mindset shift than if you were to have grabbed your phone or William kind of checked, social media for 5 minutes, completely different reactions to the two, whether, because nature offers so many healing aspects to it.
Now, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Any distraction with an unmedicated ADHD teenager whose ability to notice anything at any moment is high, there's a lot of reining in, but yes.
But it's at least that's exactly. And this leads really lovely into the next one, that the number 4th reason is that awe is critical for us on a biological level. Awe is the feeling you get in the presence of something bigger than you, something mysterious. It's the feeling of wonder, fear, and dread. And it's more important for a healthy life than you might think. This is cool. Scientists call awe a reset button for the brain because it shakes up your neutral patterns in a way that makes you more open to new ideas. What? It also makes you think more creatively. Okay, so there's something else here.
Well, I want to talk about the awe for a second, because I experienced that yesterday in the woods. We were walking and we had made comment that we hadn't really seen any deer. The woods have officially shifted from the full bloom. I mean, you can't see the grasses are
so green
to your hip now. So we were like, we haven't seen any deer, and we were trying to figure out if it's because the grass is so high or because whatever, the seasons changed, we're going at the wrong times. And then as we're walking back, as we're leaving, we see a huge buck. And I shared it on Instagram yesterday, and I was with Ryan and Lindsay and myself, and we stopped and we had that awe moment. It was like, what do you think it is? Usually there's more than one. Are there any others? That's a big, and it was just a complete and total reset. 100%.
That's so cool, Michelle.
That's so cool.
It's so cool.
See, just those little things that you don't even realize are much bigger than little.
Yeah, and they get your brain activated so that you are thinking in different ways. Like, you're not at home thinking about a buck usually, but now that you're outside, your brain has seen something awe-like, and you're wondering and getting creative in your answers and your questions and your communications with others.
It is fun to do a little forest manifestation. We like to play that game. Like, I really hope I see a blue jay. We aren't going to leave these woods until we see those deer. And it happens.
Yeah, you manifest it.
Bring it in.
State it and claim it. Mel Robbins.
Yep.
And then the last reason why getting outside as we age is so important is because we actually can learn new things as we age and learn better. The culture insists that we are unable to learn as we age. You can hear it when people talk about confronting new things. They'll say, "Oh, I'm too old to do that." And I hear that a lot. I hear that from the olders.
I am no.
You're never too old. That is never too old.
The brain still works, man.
But the brain has what scientists call plasticity. Even as we get older, we build new brain cells all the time. If our cognition begins to alter, we'll lay down different neutral pathways to figure out whatever the problem is at hand. And they go on to say, when you're outside, you're experiencing new things, whether you're reading a map or you are or you're bird watching and you're trying to learn what bird is that, what sound is that bird making, is that of this species or that, etc. And so they just say that basically, I think the gist of this article here is that the outdoors offers so many tools as we get older that can help us mentally, physically, community wise, etc. It's a great piece of information, you guys. I will link the whole article because you'll want to read it. And a special shout out to Kim Berg-Friesel for contributing content for this week's episode. Listener, if you ever have something that you think that the Sister Project would love to cover, you know what to do. Just send it to us. However you find way
at contact at thesisterprojectblog.com works just fine.
You go. All right. So that's why getting outside is important for women as we age. Now we're moving into our favorite segment, reading, watching, and listening to. I actually did start a new book called This Is How It Always Was. This is, let me just get this in real quick.
Well, you're getting that in right, quick. I just want to say that it's limping season.
Wait.
Happy limping season.
You're picking those heels? Chilean moccasins are coming back out for the seasonal strolls.
So bad. I don't know if you're going to call it a stroll. It's going to be a seasonal limp.
Michelle, and, new listener, Michelle picks her crackly heels.
Well, it's just they're rougher around the heel, and they sometimes look like a dried out river in Arizona.
Crevices.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Put some Aquaphor on and put some Aquaphor on and put socks on at night.
I have. Okay, I've done it all. The only thing that works is baby foot, and I just need to go put that on or baby feet, whatever it's called, and just go burn off my skin.
Okay, moving into this real quick. So reading, watching, listening to. I finally picked up a book that my friend Mo gave me a couple years ago, and it's called This Is How It Always Is by Lori Frankel. And this is about a family. I'm going to read this so it's easier to get out because I'm not that far into it. This Is How It Always Is a beautifully written, bold novel about gender dysphoria and the impact his change has on a family and society as a whole. The author weaves fairy tales and humor into a story of changes a family experiences when their fifth son becomes a daughter. And I have to tell you, I'm only about 10 pages in, and I am thoroughly enjoying the writing of this author. I love how she is explaining the day-to-day for a family of like 5. It's very relatable.
I was going to say,
our family of being from a larger family. My friend Katie, she also recommended this book and by the way, you guys, thank you to all of you who have recommended books. This is not a genre I usually lean into, but it's been sitting on my bookshelf and I'm trying to do something new where I don't buy new books until I read the fucking ones that I have. So
good job.
Thank you. Pull this from the bookshelf. I will report back. Michelle, what you reading? Anything?
Still working through the long ships, that Viking saga. Yeah.
We'll get back to that.
You know what? I'm enjoying it, and I'm sorry that you don't like it. Bag of dicks for everyone. But I met a couple when I was at the corner of the bar at Posto 31 this weekend, and we got to talking about some things. And the gentleman next to me shared with me that his love for Vikings and agreed with me that the Vikings series was exceptional. He promised me that Vikings Valhalla, who follows the real life Leif Erikson story, is also as good. I'll stay tuned. I plan on watching it. But he really sold me on this show, Black Sails, which takes place in the 1700s. It's pirates, all this stuff, the Caribbean islands. I lasted about 20 minutes and I'm good with it. So I'm not going to say I liked it, and I don't know if anybody else.
Well, I'll tell you what, Michelle, you've inspired a lot of people with your Valhalla and Vikings talk. We get a lot of comments coming in and people saying, wow, you have made me want to learn more about Vikings. So
fascinating, tough ass motherfuckers.
What else is fascinating is a show that Michelle told me to watch. I probably wouldn't have watched this only because I kind of heard about it back when it happened. But let me tell you that Michelle, 5 stars for the Ashley Madison documentary on Netflix. And last week we told you guys, like, tune in, let's discuss. And Anthony and I binged all 3 episodes. And all I have to say is, wow, did not realize that Ashley Madison is still up and running.
Up and running.
Also.
Thriving.
Also, there is this couple, I forget their names, Naya, and I don't even know what his name is. And
the Christian couple?
Yeah, the Christian couple. They focus primarily on this couple because they are, and as they describe themselves, Christian vloggers. So they vlog their life as a family of however many, based on their Christian values. And I have to just tell you one thing and one thing only. Boy, was I fucking annoyed with that guy. So this motherfucker. So this guy, not only does he go behind his wife's back and sign on to Ashley Madison because he was bored
commit adultery.
Yeah, and he was bored with the sex in his life. You know, I don't know. I thought there was that whole thing about being committed and whatnot, but whatever. I'm not going to go. I don't really know all the values. So all I know is what they shared on this docuseries. And, you know, I think what almost pissed me off more was that he went to the toilet because this guy was so hell-bent.
Oh my God. That's so hell-bent. Content creating.
Yeah, on making content for likes and views. And this is when social media and people that put stuff on social media really begin to bug me. When you go to the lengths that this guy did just for likes, just for follows. His wife was hoping to have, I think, a fourth baby. I don't know, maybe a third or fourth baby. And she was a little late. He is a nurse. So instead of, she was late for her period. He came home with a pregnancy test that he took from the hospital. So he stole from the hospital and then
broke another rule.
By the way, those are expensive to get. Okay. So let's just say like you just taking a pregnancy test.
Helped himself.
Just going to throw that out.
The entitlement had no
just
bounds.
Take a pregnancy test. And then he takes an eyedropper and siphons water takes it from the pee.
Thought that was weird.
Which is all a bunch of bullshit. This was all a bunch of made up bullshit because you flush after you pee. Like she really peed and then didn't. Okay. Anyways, I'm sure she was in on it, but he takes the eyedropper, puts it in the pregnancy test and then creates a vlog surprising his wife that she is pregnant. And I have to say that is the biggest invasion of privacy I have ever seen, read or heard about in my life. You don't find out if a woman is pregnant. We're already in a big debate about how and when women find out when they're pregnant and like the time wise they get to do to make decisions. You don't get to go into the toilet and find out before her. Sorry, dude. You're a dickhead.
He's a moron. I don't understand why she didn't get on her whatever car she drives and leave town forever because that guy is a loser.
And then, you know, you learn that he not only cheated on her via Ashley Madison, but he's going to strip joints. He's going to wanky
Sounds like somebody needed to go spend a little less time on the Ashley Madison site and maybe go to a Sex Addicts Anonymous site. I don't know. Just saying.
It's just saying. Honestly, you guys, I think it is so worth watching. But then the other side of this series is about how nothing is safe on the internet. Anything you put out there, anyone can get a hold of it. This huge organization or corporation was hacked. And when I say hacked, I don't mean they got some email addresses. They released the owner's emails, who then we find out he's also stepping out on his wife.
Cheating too.
This is, you guys,
very on brand.
Very on brand.
He's committed to his brand. On brand.
This is a juicy watch. I give it 5 stars. Your jaw will hit the floor, and you're going to be very annoyed with people.
Yeah. It was so weird. I thought that the real people they were profiling, as well as the folks that were the higher ups in that company, I had so many questions. The big fellow with the eccentric style.
I love him.
He was interesting to me.
I liked him because he was just there to do business and he was trying to be a good employee and help build up the company. And then he was like, oh my God, his bosses, he realized the crumbling of this corporation.
I mean, good for him for going and finding a place that he worked that he had fun at and he was passionate about and he believed in. Like, he seemed like he had never been more in his flow state than when he was employed by Ashley Madison. I did laugh my ass off when he was like, and then they were bought out. Then the company was sold and the new owners came in. He was like, and it was the most boring place I've ever worked at. And
But something I think that we should note on is that they did also highlight a couple who were married and they were in an open relationship. They were in open marriage. And this woman, the wife was a dominatrix. Yep, she's a dominatrix, and her husband had lovers on the side. But they were very open. they practice safe sex, and they always told each other when they were when they were going to spend time with a new partner. And, I was having a conversation with other people and they're like, wow, they were so weird. I'm like, I find it way less weird for them to be honest with one another and explore their sexual desires. I'm here for it. If that's what they want to do, but have their companionship and have their union between the two of them, however they are, at least it's honest, at least it's not sneaky. I would rather subscribe to something like that than the weird Christian dude who's digging through toilets and banging strippers on the side.
I thought they were all weird. And I was like, get me off this crazy train. Have a good one. I was like, you guys, you know what? I guess it's different strokes for different folks. I just
would rather align
with any of those lifestyles.
Right, neither would I. I'm not going to have an open relationship, but I admired that I see that as being in their own way, honest with one another.
Yeah, leading with integrity, no matter how out of the box their
she
circumstances.
Wants to whip old men and peg them. Not my problem.
The fellow, the Christian fellow with like a shroud of hypocrisy, just living lies, total scum, just so pompous and arrogant. The way he was just casually talking about his thing, I'm like, we're good with this. Did you repent?
Yes, he did. That's one of my favorite parts about it is that he said he sought forgiveness the night that he got caught, and that not only did his wife forgive him on the spot, but God did too.
Because did he come down on a little?
He came down on the helicopter,
floated down, and
he came down on the helicopter cloud and said, "You know what? I forgive you." And then that was
weird.
Weird
with a capital W.
Worth binging. All right, when it comes to listening to something new, nothing from me, but Michelle, I see that you have tuned into Julia Louise Dreyfus's Wiser Than Me podcast.
Yes. I had been searching for weeks and kind of gave up. I'm like, why are they not releasing new episodes? And lo and behold, there's a whole slew of new ones.
Oh,
so
right on.
I thought, why not listen to Bonnie? Because Bonnie Raitt, because she's one of my musical heroes and she's fascinating. So good. They're all so good. Just listen to them all. Just pick your favorites and go down the list. That's all I have to say.
Julia Louise was on, she won some sort of Webby award. She won a podcast award recently. And one of her, a little blip in her speech was going viral. And it was, listen to old women. Oh, no, listen to old women, motherfuckers.
Yes, I love the way she uses the words motherfuckers. She referred to the rabbits in her garden when she was talking to Bonnie Raitt as motherfuckers, and she just says it in a way that it's like classy and hilarious.
Well, I was reading another article recently about how women, again, like we were talking about earlier, as we age, that they kind of like, they're whatever, they kind of get put, back burner. And she's really putting this light on older women, wiser than me, obviously, and spinning this perspective of how we look at who are we looking at to guide us, to give us information and life experience. And I will tune in definitely to the one with Bonnie Raitt. I love her, that white streak in her hair. Okay. And our last segment of the morning, of course, as always, is what are we doing for our own cozy, mindful well-being? And for me, it was taking the time on Sunday to do something I so cherished back in the day.
Big COVID.
Yeah,
thing.
I love reading the Times cover to cover. And will I read every article? No, but I will go through every section and see what
every page.
My interest. And it was really, it took a lot out of me to some degree to be like, I'm not going to do that whole sink and instead read a whole paper. And I got a lot more out of reading my paper than sitting at the sink looking at a brick wall, because that's what sink has in front of it, is a brick wall. Yeah, so there's that.
It does.
So what are you doing, Michelle?
I am upping my 3 miles daily walk to 5 miles. I texted my friend and I said, the kids are going to be done with school in 3 days. We're not going to be rushing, getting people out the door. Let's leave a little earlier and let's add 2 miles. And I was inspired by Mel Robbins' mother-in-law. She's 80 something and she walks 5 miles every single day.
Doesn't your mother-in-law too?
I think
talked
3.
to Jan before. I'm like, do you want to come on a walk with us? And she's like, gotten my however many. And I thought it was 5. All right. Well done. Let us know how your time outdoors is as you amp up your mileage. Good job keeping up with, being very on brand, Michelle. I mean, It would be really strange if you're like, I'm just going to go on the treadmill.
Yep. Inside in my basement. I would rather die.
Thank you so much for joining us. A toast and a cheers to summer as we move into the end of school and the summer months. Don't forget to tune into us during the summer when your kids are out doing whatever it is that they are doing. And as always, we hope that you will always stay
extra cozy, friends.
There you go. Thank you for joining us for today's cozy conversation. For more of The Sister Project, check us out on Instagram at The Sister Proj and our website, www.thesisterprojectblog.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and maybe even drop us a review. Until next time, stay cozy.